there, and welcome to the Zambia 2026 General Elections Program. My name is Victor Mwila. As Zambia prepares for the August 13, 2026 General Elections, political debate and public engagement have continued to intensify across traditional and digital platforms. While access to information is essential in any democracy, the spread of hate speech, misinformation, and disinformation poses a growing challenge to peaceful elections, informed decision-making, and national unity. How then can we as citizens distinguish fact from falsehood? What role should the media play? Political actors and the public, what can they do about this in as far as safeguarding the integrity of information during this election period? On this subject, hate speech, misinformation, and disinformation, I am joined by governance expert Skawala Msonda and media expert Dr. Felix Kunda. Gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to this discussion on Zanis TV, and thank you for honoring the invitation to come and appear on this program.
Thank you so much. We are delighted to be part of the program.
So from the outset, you know, campaigns are in full swing across the length and breadth of this country. How do you describe hate speech, misinformation, and disinformation? Let's first of all dissect that before we begin to look at the dangers this poses to the electoral process.
Okay, thank you. So I'll briefly look at misinformation and disinformation. These two issues or concepts may appear similar, you know, in connotation, but they're actually different in the sense that one is done deliberately and the other one is done maybe stemming from ignorance. For example, misinformation is where a person is spreading information that is inaccurate, you know, that is not true, that is false, stemming maybe from ignorance. So they don't know the facts, but they are trying to say something. They don't have the information, the correct version of the information, but maybe they are trying to be in the forefront of, for example, in today's world, everyone wants to break the news. So they want to break the news, but they don't have the facts. On the other hand, disinformation is actually deliberate. So disinformation is where someone can actually fabricate something while they have the true information. So they have the correct version of the information, but they decide to spread the information that is incorrect. And they are going to use different media, you know, now with AI, they can create a video that depicts a situation that never occurred and then say, this is actually what is happening. So it's a good time that we're having this discussion, and truly these two are inimical to the democracy of our nation.
Dr. Kunda, hate speech, what exactly are we talking about when we say hate speech?
Okay, basically when we are referring to hate speech, it's more to do with a belief system. And we have this person who wants to perhaps look at maybe another person or another groupings, and then be able to tell them things that are going to hate this particular group. Now, the best example that we can refer to when we talk about hate speech is what happened in Rwanda, where a certain grouping referred to another grouping as perhaps cockroaches. So that infuriated the other party, and that led to all these conflict. Now, just to go further on misinformation and disinformation, basically the broader term would be propaganda. So we have these propagandists that have their own ideas and they want to propagate these ideas. So in a way, the propagandists who are the creators of disinformation, malinformation, misinformation, they have their own personal agenda. And in most cases, these agendas, they don't even believe in this agenda. All they want is their ideologies to be heard, their ideologies to be understood. So in simple terms, that's it.
So social media has actually emerged as a major source of news for many citizens across the country, here in Zambia, or should we talk, well, in this age, yes. So there's a lot of information on social media. Uh, you can talk about what you've described, hate speech, misinformation and disinformation. So when you use that platform as your major source for news, how do you differentiate or what steps can you take to ensure that you verify information? Because usually when people find something on social media, they share.
Yeah.
And it goes viral,
Yeah.
as we say.
Okay, so basically, when we talk about social media, I will refer to consciously and unconsciously. So when you received this information, first of all, you must understand where is this information coming from. For instance, if it is coming from ZNBC, Zanis, and this is what we call the traditional media. Now, these guys are what we call the professional communicators. They have been trained to disseminate information that is accurate, that is truthful, that is unbiased. So these are the traditional media. Now, when you refer to social media, now with social media, what has happened is the powers that we, the media, has been usurped. They've been taken over by the ordinary person. Now, this ordinary person does not understand even the simple ethics, the ethics in how you're going to communicate, ethics to respect the other person, ethics to communicate or disseminate information that is truthful. Now, what we're basically saying is when you receive information, consciously, you must distinguish it. If it's coming from social media, the chances are that it is not truthful. If it's coming from the news, the chances are that it has been communicated by the professional communicators who are trained. So members of the public need to be reminded that if you go on social media, immediately you see something on social platform, these are the people that have been given the powers that they never enjoyed before. So social media has given them. So they're excited. And in the excitement, sometimes they're able to disseminate things that are not correct. So it's up to us, members of the public, to be able to distinguish. If we don't distinguish, we will receive, as he said, misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, and hate speech as gospel truth.
Well, I did mention from the outset that campaigns are in full swing across the country. And what responsibilities do political parties, candidates, and their supporters, what responsibilities do they have in ensuring that campaign messages remain issue-based and do not promote division, hostility, or falsehood?
All right. So as I had to respond to that question, there's an important point that he raised regarding the spread of information using social media. And if you look at social media, it's difficult to police social media. For you, the traditional media, it's easy because there's IBA. They are going to check on you. But you see, when there's social media, anyone can just start something. And it's important actually for us to emphasize to our members of the public to ensure that they, for example, check the credentials of those that are publishing the particular information. And that's something some of us have done. Not to digress, but I can tell you that I was on a project where this project was specifically conceived to train young people on how they can separate fake news from the true one, the actual news. And these are skills that we need in this day and age so that we protect our people, from these vices. Now, coming to the responsibilities, I think all political parties, even beyond the political spectrum, the church, the traditional leaders, we all have actually responsibility to ensure that all followers of politics are kept in check. And one of the things that that can be done is to ensure that there's one principle that I can share that can help people appreciate this aspect, and that is the principle that go hard on the issue, not the person. I've always believed in this. If I have a misunderstanding with you or Doc here, I shouldn't attack his personality. I should attack his idea. in that case, I'm actually criticizing. So I'm criticizing his idea, his policies, his ideology, without attacking his personality, because that can easily transcend into hate speech or defamation. So if he comes up with a proposal, I am going to criticize the proposal and say, this thing cannot work because of A, B, C, D. If I have my numbers, I'm going to produce the numbers as evidence. So we need to reach that level, and also teach our colleagues on restraint. Restraint is very important. In the heat of emotions, people tend to react and make decisions that they end up regretting. So restraint is very important. We have the police. Make use of them. Put it on record that this happened and I made the report. That may come up in future, you don't know, but it protects you so that you can continue enjoying your liberties and your freedoms.
Well, usually some of these things actually are promoted by supporters of different candidates. You see that candidates will try as much as possible to remain issue-based, but when it comes to supporters, you'll see supporters attacking one another or bringing this up and again. Dr. Kunda, how do we promote responsible discourse among citizens?
Okay, so first of all, what I've noticed as a problem is that when we have these politicians, when you go to campaign, my advice has always been that you need to have what we call a speech, which is going to guide you. Now, when you come up with a speech, you are going to, as he has mentioned, you're going to put up your points or your ideas. So if you're going to talk about 5 ideas, economy, perhaps climate change, and maybe agriculture, so this will be in your speech. And this will guide you when you are going to speak to your target audience, so to speak. So for instance, if you're going to campaign in Shangombo, you must first of all understand the people of Shangombo. So once you understand them, you understand their issues there. And when you come up with your speech should be able to resonate with the people of Shangombo. And in that way, they'll be able to agree with you. Now, the biggest problem is you are going to an audience, you have no speech at all. You are relying on perhaps on your memory. And when you stand in front and people start cheering, you even forget what you're supposed to say. And in the process, you start attacking the personality of another person. And that becomes a problem. So my advice to all these guys who are campaigning, the politicians, is that let them come up with a speech. Let them study their target audience. Yes, I'm going to Chipata. What are the issues in Chipata? And then put them in a speech. Stand in front and be able to speak to the audience based on the guidelines that you've provided for yourself. But without that, these are the things that we are able to see now.
Usually, misinformation spreads faster than verified facts.
Exactly.
Why is it that misinformation is so appealing to audiences out there? You are both social scientists. Why is it so appealing?
Okay, yeah. So misinformation usually is more appealing because, look, I'm just packaging based on what is going to trigger you, basically. Yeah. I'm not packaging anything based on events that occurred or describing how they occurred. I'm just going to package it based on what I think is going to trigger you as an individual. Yeah. And I think that's where the problem actually is. I think as citizens, we need to be as responsible enough to understand that, you see, some of these actions may seem insignificant, but can have very dangerous repercussions. It's in this country where people started making false alarms of things that never happened. And then what did we see next? We saw chaos where people were rising against each other. It is easy to happen. Like he said, he gave an example of Rwanda. So we need to be responsible. I think as citizens, we should take serious responsibility to ensure that we manage to tackle the issue of misinformation. It's always appealing. Trust me, it's always appealing. It's easy for me to know right now the way it's called with this weather, what kind of rumor I can spread to excite people. And with AI, I can generate an image or a video and people will share it. Like you have said, it spreads like a wildfire. Within 2 hours, there will be thousands of reactions.
So basically, I don't know what he's saying is with misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, the creators, they don't create it out of nothing. First of all, they're going to study the environment. What is the prevailing environment today? What are the issues that are being discussed today? So, based on the environment, based on the trend, then they'll be able to create false information, and that false information will easily fit into the environment. And in that process, people will be able to accept it as perhaps gospel truth. So, the creators, they are also thinkers. So they sit and think and plan and then be able to come up with the same information in order to bring all this confusion. So as we mentioned earlier, so it's up to members of the public to consciously or unconsciously decide on their own. Is this information truthful? Should we verify it? Or perhaps should I also be an agent of false information? So you've received information, you're not even sure, and you start sharing with all your social platforms. So that is a call on us as members of the public to be cautious.
Well, viewers, if you have just joined us, this is Zambia 2026 General Elections Program, and we are discussing hate speech, misinformation, and disinformation ahead of the August 2026 General Elections. And my guests are Mr. Skawala Msonda, governance expert, and Dr. Felix Kunda, media expert. Dr. Kunda, we have seen that even traditional media, there are facts. That traditional media sometimes has actually fallen prey, and you see them reporting on social media false information. We will not mention which media institutions, but we've seen later on media institutions coming back to retract. We reported someone is dead. Actually, this is not true. You see, how can the media, traditional media, do things differently in order to build public trust, especially ahead of the August 13, 2026 elections?
Okay, so perhaps for media institutions, I know when we leave the university or when we leave colleges, and that's it, we don't touch our books anymore. We leave them. So maybe each institution can come up with perhaps a program which will focus on ethics, because journalism is anchored on the principles of how we conduct ourselves. So ethics could be one of the trainings that each media house can maybe organize for their staff, because with ethics they'll be able to understand the accuracy, they'll be able to understand attribution, they'll be able to understand the honesty, integrity, all these things that guide what journalism is all about. So if, for instance, a media house is not abide by the simple principles, the ethics of journalism, then perhaps we can ask IBA to maybe close if it's a radio station. So basically what I'm saying is, let's remind ourselves as journalists on the principles that guide our profession.
Sometimes hate speech is disguised as political opinion, and people sometimes will refer to freedom of expression. Where do we draw the line between legitimate political debate and speech that threatens peace and social cohesion?
That's a good question. There's one principle that I have always believed in, and something that I think our viewers out there can try to reflect over, which they say in law, if you cannot prove it, don't allege it. In short, don't allege what you cannot prove, because in many cases, and like I said, we cannot go hard on a person and forget the issue. You see, society is slowly evolving, and now we have this, I can say, enlightened society that would want to hear what you actually have to offer to them. The young people want to hear what you want to offer to them as a politician. So if you are going to come on radio or TV and all you are talking about is the other politician, the opponent, people might not take you seriously. So I think it's time we tried to push more on issue-based politics. Let's go for issues and not people. It's not about me, my height, or whatever I am, or where I come from. No, the issue should be the alternatives that I'm bringing. Do you find them workable, or they are not workable? And then you go on that trajectory. And then you see that at the end of the day, you get a lot of buy-in. So I think as long as someone is attacking a person, we cannot say that is freedom of expression. There can be no freedom of expression in using insulting language or fabricating lies or stories against a person, and you say that is freedom of expression. No. Freedom of expression should not injure the rights or privacy of another person. So we need to draw the lines there.
Of the over 8 million registered voters, slightly over 4 million are young people. They are the largest constituency of voters. And in this country, they are among the most active users of public digital platforms. How can they become champions of responsible online engagement and help counter false narratives during the period like in which we are, the period of elections, this election cycle?
Okay, thank you. So you see, the young people are indeed the majority, and the young people thrive on social media. I think nowadays, if you go into a home, there are two people you're going to find, type of people you're going to find. They are the very young who will be watching cartoons, and the Gen Z millennials who will be busy on their phones, catching up on what is happening on social media. So the best thing I think that the young people can do, number one, is to learn to trace news. Where is it coming from? There are media houses, and this comes from a certain level of discernment where you can actually, for me, what I've done is I know media houses, even the CNNs, the Al Jazeera. I know the kind of news, which side they belong. Whenever I read something from this media, I cross-check to the other side, then I'll pick a neutral one to get the facts. So if you're going to comment based on whatever pops up, then you'll be misled. So cross-checking, tracing, looking at the credentials of those who are publishing the information is very important. There are also tools that the young people can use, okay, such as Google Images. Google Images can help you to see how authentic an image is. It will tell you to say, this image is false, or it's just AI generated, okay? They can also use AI, because our young comrades love to use AI. AI can tell you that this image is 100% AI, or this video is 100% AI, meaning this thing never actually happened. That way you can actually make a decision, unlike consuming everything that comes through social media in its raw format.
Dr. Kunda, young people, how can they help? We are addressing the largest constituency of voters.
Okay, so for the young people, I want to remind them that just like when they get a job, so when they get a job, whichever institution or company, it has what they call a strategic plan. So a strategic plan is a roadmap that dictates on how that company operates. So when it comes to these political parties, they must insist on the manifesto. So manifesto becomes the roadmap or a strategic plan for this particular political party. So this particular political party should be able to talk about its manifesto. So if you're in Matero, what is it talking about? How are they going to improve the lives of a person who is in Matero? So without that, then it means they have nothing that they are offering to you as a young people or as a young person.
In closing remarks, what can we learn as a country from previous elections, both locally or even regionally, in as far as the management of misinformation and promotion of peaceful political discourse, as we head towards August 13, 2026, in your closing remarks?
My conclusion would be that as members of the public, when we receive this information, let's distinguish the ones that is coming from social platforms. And as I mentioned earlier, social platforms, anyone can generate, anyone can post, anyone can produce. So we need to be cautious. And then we also have the traditional media. So we have ZNBC, Zanis, CNN, and all these other media institutions. So when we are receiving this information, we need to categorize and then not always be agents of posting misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. So we also need to be very careful. So my word, or my last word, is we need to be very careful so that we continue enjoying the peace that Zambia has been enjoying since 1964. We want to continue, and we want to give the young people the same peace the way forward.
Okay, thank you. From my end, I would encourage the young people, especially, not to fall prey to laziness. You know, a lazy man's approach is where you just see something, consume it as it is. But one of the easiest things, again, that you can do to verify information, once you read a story, just go to Google and punch the story. Trust me, if it's authentic, it will come up. If it's not, it will even tell you that there is no such event. You see, that way, I think we'll be helping ourselves out, because the media, the way the media is, the media can sometimes be used for distraction. But in good media practice, like Doc has mentioned, is one that should be able to speak the truth, the facts, and unite the people. Not a situation where I wake up and fabricate a story and with a free conscience. The conscience can't even tell you that this is wrong. So the question is, where are the ethics? So the solution going forward is, I can say, threefold. The media have a role to play. Let them do the verifications, the cross-checking. They confirm with the source. Did you actually say this? Then the source will confirm. Then go ahead and publish with a free conscience. The people, the citizens also have a role to play to ensure that whatever information is coming through, if it's on other socials, you can even block a page that you feel is spreading misinformation. Because once you check 1, 2, 3, 4 times, you notice this is a pattern, get rid of it so that you can actually consume that which is right. And also on the regulatory side, we need to be more proactive, I think, in ensuring that all aspects of misinformation are gotten rid of so that we can have a peaceful election. As we know, the election doesn't take place just on the 13th. It's all the activities culminating into the 13th. So if there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of lies, at the end of the day, the voters will be thinking, so what is going to happen on this day? So we need to be responsible enough so that we can keep on with the peace that we have seen in this country.
Well, gentlemen, I would like to thank you so much for sharing your expert insights here. And we really appreciate that you honored the invitation to come and appear on this program.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Well, viewers, that's it for this program. Thank you for watching. As we heard, the quality of information that citizens consume and share can have a direct impact on the credibility of elections, social cohesion, and democratic governance. The fight against hate speech, misinformation, and disinformation is therefore not only the responsibility of institutions and the media, but that of every citizen. As Zambia approaches the August 13 general elections, let us all commit to promoting truth, respect, and constructive dialogue in our communities and online spaces. Thank you for watching the Zambia 2026 General Elections Program. My name is Victor Mwila. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and participate responsibly in the democratic process. It's bye for now.